Hey guys, Helen Hartsmith here again from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. Hope you're having a good day. I am. Actually I'm kind of whipped already. Oh goodness. So sorry that I haven't been posting again. I'm a little late and stuff. I hurt my leg at work a few weeks ago, and I just seemed to like re-hurt myself over the weekend doing more than I should be doing, and then it just kind of wipes me out and I'm back at ground zero. So I'm trying to take things extra precautiously, whatever, so that it doesn't happen again. So we'll see what happens. Anyhow, we are here to record a video talking about the Sabbath correspondences for Samhain. I'm trying to be a little earlier with this Sabbath. Ha 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 ha. Yay me. So Samhain is, like many of us, Samhain is my favorite holiday. And Samhain was actually my favorite holiday before I even became pagan. And so I've loved costumes. I've loved dressing up. I think that's why I, loved community theater when I did it for 10 years and things like that. So I have a closet, like these are actually my closet doors behind me. I have a closet that runs like the full width of my long, narrow bedroom, and half of that space is costuming, either steampunk or costumes from shows or Renaissance festival stuff and things like that. I love it. So anyhow, let's talk about the correspondences, and I am going to remember today to give you in the video the recipe to make your own Sabbath incense. So, but let's talk about the correspondence pieces first. So, ritual themes that you might want to look at for Samhain, well, before even ritual themes. So, in the Celtic tradition, let's go with that Celtic tradition, Samhain is the new year. And so it's the time of it's time when the veil between this world and the realm of spirit is at its thinnest. And so it's traditionally a time where we are able to speak with spirits a whole lot easier. And so when it comes to ritual themes, death and rebirth are very, very popular themes for this particular Sabbath. Also, celebrating the Celtic New Year is very popular. And gods and goddesses in the underworld, though that's because the goddess is definitely in her crone phase as we turn the wheel to Samhain, and so those underworld deities, kind of honoring them and highlighting them during this Sabbath is very popular. Another big thing is honoring our ancestors. I know that that's a huge thing for my coven. A big part of our ritual is spent honoring our ancestor dead. And it's also the third harvest of the year, and so it's also known as the meat harvest. For traditional peoples, this is the time of year when you look at your stock, your herds, and you cull the herds back, and that gives you meat to live through during the cold months if you live in a cold climate. And it also kind of thins the herd down so that you can feed them through the winter months as well. Okay, magic that you can work and that is connected with Samhain and is kind of, I guess, easier to work this time of year. You want to look at death magic and rebirth magic, the transformation from death to rebirth. It's a great time for divination this time of year. It's, as I said, honoring our ancestors is a big thing that my coven does and that I do. So that's good magic for this time of year. Introspection, looking inward and looking at your shadow self and the work that you might need to be doing or starting or what have you. Benign Mischief is also a really fun bit of magic that you can work this time of year. There's a lot of heavy things, so it's nice to see a little benign mischief and revelry that are connected with this Sabbath as well. So that kind of puts us in mood for a little bit of partying along with all of those honoring the ancestors and death and stuff. I feel like my hair is like totally sticking up. Ugh, I need a minute of self-maintenance, guys. Hold up. I need a sip of tea. Ooh. So I'm really interested in how are each of you going to be experiencing and celebrating Samhain this year. So make sure you tell me about that in the comments section below. Now, in terms of stones that are connected with Samhain. So if you're interested in making jewelry or in decorating your altar or things like that, this is what this correspondence stuff is for. So obsidian, smoky quartz, jet. Basically, your black stones are great for this time of year. Amber is also really good. And I think that's kind of poignant too, that amber being that sap that is preserved like that. I think that's definitely a sign of rebirth and things like that. Garnets, granite, love that. Clear quartz, I think we can use clear quartz literally whenever we want, right? Marble and sandstone, gold, diamonds. I love my diamonds. Iron, steel, rubies, hematite, and brass. There's a whole lot there that we can work with in terms of, and I guess I really should call that stones and metal because there's a lot of metal in there as well. There's a lot to work with. And actually the Sabbath necklace, I'm not wearing my Sabbath necklace in this video, but it's very reminiscent. I connect purples with Samhain as well. So my Samhain necklace is made with jet, and I think it's just a purple-ish, because amethyst isn't necessarily connected, but the color purple is. So it's like purple glass beads. So yeah, that's kind of cool. So colors, speaking of colors, purple, black, red, and orange. Those are all great colors to look at for our altar cloths, for maybe table decorations if you're doing something like a dumb supper. I don't necessarily, we do a dumb supper at our feast. Well, we set a place at our feast after Samhain, after our Samhain ritual. I feel like my tongue's not working right. Whatever. We do set a place for the ancestors, but we don't do a full-blown dumb supper. I know a lot of people do, and that's really cool, but it's not something that we actually participate in. But symbols, so let's talk about symbols that are connected with Samhain. Black cat. It's so like in the decorations that we see out for Halloween. Black cats, crows, colored or not colored oak leaves, pumpkins, nuts, scarecrows, apples, corn stalks, jack-o'-lanterns, masks, and the waning moon. And I mean, these are just symbols. I think Samhain is probably one of the easiest Sabbats that we have that symbols are so apparent, because it's literally symbols that we've grown up with our entire life because of Halloween being such a widespread celebrated holiday. It's so cool to have, oh yeah, it's pumpkins, it's jack-o'-lanterns, it's crows, it makes total sense. Like I almost didn't have to talk about it, huh? So foods that you might want to look at if you're doing a feast: apples. We talked about apple as a symbol. They're harvested in the fall, so I think that's partially, it kind of coincides really nicely. Apple cider, or any kind of ciders. With it being the third harvest, the meat harvest, meat, especially pork, is a really good dish that you might want to serve at your feasts. Nuts are really good because, again, those are being harvested this time of year. Pomegranates, and of course that kind of comes back to the story of Persephone and how she came to be married to Hades and her mother Demeter, talking about the seasons changing and things like that. Potatoes, again, I think potatoes are probably one of the last vegetables that might be brought out of the garden, so potato dishes. I know that my coven, it's already been requested that I do rosemary potatoes for our feast. That's a very popular dish for us. Pumpkins, so like pumpkin pie, pumpkin, soups or what have you. Pumpkin, let me just, a little PSA right here. I like a good pumpkin cookie as much as the next person, but I don't necessarily need to have pumpkin flavored everything. Some of this stuff is a little out of control, but whoa, pumpkin spice craziness. And squash. So squash soups, acorn squash. I love that stuff. It's so good. Now, goddesses that are affiliated with Samhain would be the crone. I already mentioned how the goddess is in her crone aspect this time of year. Hecate or Hecate, depending on how you might pronounce it. Cierdwin or Cierdwin. I know that there's some different pronunciations there as well. Arianrod. Kaliak, I believe is how her name is pronounced. Baba Yaga. Al-Liat. I'm not sure who that is. Hold on. I got to take off my glasses to see the, yeah. Okay, Al-Llat. I'm not entirely familiar who that goddess is, so if somebody knows and can give me a heads up in the comments, that would be helpful. Bast, the goddess Persephone. Hel, Kali, all death and underworld goddesses. So again, that brings us back to someone like Persephone. Now for the gods. Cernunnos or Cernunnos, depending on how you pronounce it. Osiris, Hades, Gwyn-ap-Nudd, Anubis, Coyote brother, Loki, Dis, Aran, sacrificial / dying / aging gods. Death and underworld gods. Okay. So again, there's that whole death, rebirth, underworld deities that are a common theme for this particular time of year. Now, if you're looking at incense and you don't want to use the recipe that I'm going to tell you about, you might want to look at a straight up mugwort, a straight up sage, or copal is a good incense for this time of year. Hello, Freya. Freya, do you want to say hi to the peeps? So if you are following me on Instagram, then you might know that the roomie and I got a new kitty. Let me see. Come here, girl. Come and meet the peeps. Freya, look up here. Freya. Oh, I know. This is your first time on film. Isn't she precious? She's our little Freya. Oh, you're caught. All right, I let you down now. There you go. Thank you. That's our little precious little girl, and we love her so much. We've had her for, I think, close to a month now, and she is taking over the house and doing all kinds of things. Oh my goodness, she's a sweetheart. She's getting places that our previous kitties, they were ground dwellers, and so they would like get on the furniture and that's about it. This little girl is very, very exploratory, so that's been fun for the roomie and I to deal with. Okay, so let's talk about this Samhain incense recipe. Okay, so this, again, I think I've talked about this before. Some of these recipes that I have for Sabbath incenses are ones that I found online somewhere, or they're ones that I have created, and I never differentiated between the two. So if you feel like this is your recipe, it might be. I don't I don't know. If you want to tell me, then I can give you some credit or what have you. It's a pretty easy recipe. Now, one thing that I want to stress when it comes to doing recipes like this is that in reality, sometimes you don't have every ingredient on hand. When I look at spell work and recipes for like incense and different things like that, I try to really stick with things that are easy to obtain. I don't like to get super exotic with my ingredients because I don't want to have to wait for something to ship from, you know, halfway across the world when I need to do a spell or what have you. So I try to keep my they're not basic. I try to keep my spell components to things that I can obtain, you know, fairly easily, okay? So this is in parts. This recipe is set up in parts, so you can make up as much or as little as you want. Now the coven, we tend to maybe have a jar of stuff that's like built up that we might have created during a crafty craft day or something like that. I will use oils sometimes if I really don't have something. But even a recipe like this, if I don't have anything, then I don't include it. I don't think that it lessens the intention of your incense if you hold your intention. Does that make sense? So this recipe is 2 parts cinnamon, okay? 1 part ground cloves. If you have whole cloves, I guess you could use them and then just kind of make sure that you've got it in, kind of thing, or maybe you can grind it yourself. I'm not a super witch. I don't grind my own stuff very much. 1 part dragon's blood resin. Now, dragon's blood resin can be found in a powdered form or chunked up into smaller chunks to make it easier to mix up with other things. 1 part hyssop. 2 parts rosemary. 1 part sage. And a dash of sea salt. And I love that dash of sea. Oh my goodness. Miss Freya is having the zoomies right now. So if you hear any zoom movement in the background, girlfriend's working out some energy. So I love the fact that there's a dash of sea salt in this particular recipe. And I like the preservativeness of that kind of thing when we're looking at rebirth and the transformation and things like that. So there is an incantation that I will include in the description box. I don't like to go into that kind of thing on camera, but I will give you the words of power in the description box. So if you choose to make this incense on your own, that you have those and you can charge it for using during that time. So that is going to be it for this video. If you learned something from this or liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. Hello, yay. Questions, you can pose them in the comments section, or you can email me at heartofthewitchespath@yahoo.com. Be sure to check out the social media links that are in the description box as well. And that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and thanks for taking the time to walk the path for a little while with me. Until next time, blessed be.